It sounds like we have quorum, so we're going to get started. It's 7:01 Eastern, and as additional
and join the conference.
members join on, we will recognize them. So I will call the 2018 Annual General Meeting to order.
And to start the conference recording, press 1. To cancel, press star.
Okay, so we've got everything set on record. Once we go through the roll call, I'll do a quick housekeeping.
Your conference is being recorded.
I'll do a quick housekeeping just to remind everybody about a few of the scenarios that will come up today in terms of speaking and making motions, etc., and then we'll get started. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do our roll call. So I'd like to start that by category, and by category alphabetically. So starting with category A, Peter Gray. Okay, not yet. Sue Carroll.
Present.
Thank you. Charlene Kostecki. Okay, not here. Mike Lawrence.
Present.
Thank you. Terry O'Brennan.
Here.
Thank you. Rhea Pohl. Elizabeth Quigg. I know she sent her regrets, so she's not here. Cara Whittam.
And join the conference.
So Cara's not here yet. Okay, moving to category B. Jess Anson.
Tyler Veronici.
And join the conference.
Sorry, Jess.
Here.
Anson. Thank you. Nicole Duplessis.
Yes.
Thank you. Heather Findlay.
Here.
Brenda Gilchrist.
Here.
Mark Nelson.
Here.
Lauren Parker.
Here.
Liz Saunders.
Here.
Adrian Smith.
Here.
Jerry Sweet.
And join the conference.
Okay, moving to category C. Jill Barton.
Here.
Charmaine Bergman.
Here.
David Brent.
Here.
Muriel Burnley.
Here.
Thank you. Tina Collins.
And join the conference.
Here.
Uh,
Hello.
Tina, was that you?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. Dan Gall.
Present.
Caitlin Gregoric. Not here. Sue Ockenden.
Yes.
Terrence Miller.
And
Jill.
join the conference.
Jill Segan.
Here.
Thank you. And we had Terrence List. Okay. Miller. Here. Okay. So I can confirm we have quorum. So we have 20 people so far. I would also like to introduce the other participants on the call. And we will start with myself, Meg Kruger, President. Could somebody who just called on announce who they are?
Hi there, sorry, it's Kirsten from KPMG.
Oh, super. Thank you. Okay, so continuing on, I'd like to introduce the current board of directors, and we'll do a roll call for them as well. Meg Kruger, myself, I'm here. Dominique Chagnon.
Yes, present.
Craig Collins.
Here.
Charles Pugh.
Here.
Peggy Hambley.
Nicole Duplessis. And left the conference.
Rob Mitchell.
Here.
Doug Orr.
Here.
Carla Robin.
Here.
Chris Sorensen.
Here.
And our incoming board of directors would be Dr. Wayne Burwash,
Here.
Jane Milton,
Here.
Robin Tremblay.
Here.
Okay, also present, we have Gord Peterson, legal counsel,
Has joined the conference.
Kirsten Giles, KPMG auditor, Tyler Bernaducci, also with KPMG, Richard Mongeau, CEO and Secretary General. Jesse Christie, Manager of Communications and Media Relations. Aaron Jones, Digital Marketing Specialist. Marilyn Coram, Manager, Executive Office and Customer Service.
Has
Rob
joined the
Westgarth,
conference.
Financial Controller. Could the last person who joined please identify themselves?
Carl Whittam, Chair, Category A.
Thanks, Cara. And we have finally Dorothy Shaw, who will be the recording secretary. And a few ECE staff people are also listening. Okay, so, and Facebook Live. Okay, so thank you for that. We are moving forward through the agenda. In the opening remarks, what I wanted to do was just go through a few quick Robert's Rules points to help ensure that we have a productive meeting. So there are 4 points. The first one is motions. I wanted to clarify what the purpose of a motion is. When a motion is made, it really means that the person speaking is asking the assembly to take action on something. So nothing would go to discussion without a motion being on the floor. The exception to that, of course, would be when we're in the question and answer session. So to remind everybody that making a motion is not asking to approve it, it's simply asking the assembly to consider and discuss
Has
it.
joined the conference.
Once a motion is made, it will need a seconder, and after that, I will ask the assembly if there's any discussion. So when you make a motion or second it, please remember to announce yourself by name. Okay, the next point, speaking. After a motion is made and seconded and we move to discuss, I'm going to ask that every member speaks only once until all of the other members have had the opportunity to speak. If you would like to speak, please do me a favor and state your name and ask for the floor. If we get to a situation where more than one person asks to speak at the same time, please pause and let me announce the order of speakers. Voting. After a motion is made and seconded and the discussion is concluded, I'll call the matter to a vote. Due to the challenges involved with many people on a conference call, when I call the question, so when I call for a vote, in some cases I may ask for any opposed, and in others I'm going to ask for a vote by alphabetical roll call. So we'll go like we did with the introduction roll call, category A, then B, then C. Then I'll need to pause to tabulate the vote and announce the result. So just as a guide, an example of an any opposed vote would be the approval of the agenda, approval of minutes, and an example of a roll call vote would be the acceptance of audited financials. The last piece is technology related. Last AGM we had some issues with interference. It may be possible that you're calling on a cell phone, or you might have noises or voices in the background that might be distracting for everybody else. So I'm going to ask that everybody mutes their phone until they are wishing to speak. And we do have the option, if for some reason anybody has an issue with that, or if there's some noise that's causing some conflict for the group, we do have an option to mute the line. And if we do mute the line, we'll let you know and we'll bring it back on when it's time for everyone to discuss. So I hope, are there any questions on that? Okay. So let's move forward to the first item of business, which is approval of the agenda. You have received the draft agenda in advance of the meeting, and I would like to ask if there's a motion on the floor to adopt the agenda.
Gilles Begay.
Ms. Saunders, I'll
Thank you.
put the motion.
Okay, I got Gilles first. Liz, would
Make a
you like,
motion to accept
Thank
the
you.
agenda.
Liz, would you like to second that?
Yes, I'll second.
Perfect. I would like to make one minor adjustment to the draft agenda, which is that after item D, adoption of the minutes, I'd like to add a session for the president report and the management report. But that would be the only addition. Are there any questions about the agenda or other comments? Okay. Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. Please, any opposed to the adoption of the agenda as corrected? Okay, the agenda has been adopted. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. These are for the minutes of the 2017 AGM. The draft minutes were circulated. There are two sets. The set from
Carrie Louise
September
has joined the
25th,
conference.
2017 and October 13, 2017. One point of business, there is one correction to be noted. In the October minutes, Tina Collins' name was spelled incorrectly on page 2 and 3. So are there any other corrections from the members who were present to either set of minutes?
I have a question. Do you want to do them both separately or as one? Because it was a continuation.
Because it was a continuation of the same meeting, I was going to do them together unless the members object, and then we can do them separately. Are there any objections to doing them as a set? No? Okay. Are there any other comments or corrections to the minutes?
Next, this is Tina Collins. I just had some corrections to the October 13 minutes.
Okay.
That read that the questions from the Brief Board Committee were not forthcoming from the members. The response was not forthcoming from the committee. The questions submitted, and also in confirmation with Peggy Hambley, the confirmation was I asked for confirmation that regardless of the outcome of on the financial statements, that the new board of directors will come in as of the AGM.
Okay. Thank you. If we make those edits, are there any objections to making the corrections that Tina has put forth? Okay. So we have then two corrections, one Tina Collins' name, the second the corrections that she's noted. Are there any other comments anyone would like to make before we move to vote? Okay. Hearing none. We didn't move it. Okay, I'm sorry. Would someone please make a motion to adopt the adopt the minutes as corrected?
Yeah, Liz Saunders, I'll make the motion.
Thanks, Liz.
I'll second it.
Wait,
Okay, Sue, thank you. Any further comments? Okay, and we'll move to a vote. Any opposed to the approval of the minutes as corrected? Okay, they're approved. Thank you very much. Okay, moving forward to the President report. It's been a pleasure, or it is a pleasure, to welcome you to the 2018 AGM and share a summary of our activities over the last 12 months. As many of you are now aware, the first 6 months of our role as a board involved quite a bit of crisis and operational management. We lost our CEO only weeks before our first board meeting, and from that point immediately formed a CEO search task force. They were facing a short time frame, but at the same time the need not to rush in finding a leader who would be best suited for the organization and for the community. At the same time, our board committees were actively in governance mode. I hope you've had a chance to read the Master Board report and its 40 pages to see how much work has taken place over the last 12 months. Major areas of action are outlined in my introduction, but I'm going to highlight a few of the major takeaways right now. Number one, recognizing that our accounting software was a roadblock and taking a step towards letting it go for a simpler program in order for us to be able to operate more effectively and produce the reports needed by staff and committees in a timely manner. Number two, our success in hiring our CEO, Richard Mongeau, who started April 1st. Number three, the launch of a new national coaching committee, two new national coaching committees, and a national coaching and athlete development plan, which I'm going to comment on a little bit more in a minute. Number four, our new membership portal, which is now in the works and promises to offer many efficiencies and benefits to all parties involved in the membership renewal process. Five, deploying staff resources in office to lead the Equine ID and Traceability Initiative forward. And then finally, the approval of draft terms of reference for new... Could somebody please, who has dogs, please put their phone on mute?
star 6.
Star 6
Yeah,
if you don't have that option.
Yep, just enter star 6 if you have background noise, and then you can enter star 6 if you have to unmute yourself.
Thank you. And number 6, the approval of draft terms of reference for a new competition structural alignment committee called CSAC. This is a national competition review. It's been developed in consultation with stakeholders, and we're now excited to be able to commence this very important process over the coming years and truly assess what is working and what needs improvement in our national competition structure. Throughout the year, we've also navigated through many distressed relationships, and we've truly seen that open communication is the key for healthy operations, with so many people, organizations, and stakeholders all involved in our mandate. And on that note, I just would like to take a minute to credit the PTSOs, the provincial and territorial sport organizations in particular. They came to the board a year ago saying that there was a problem, and after spending time speaking with each and every province and territory in the country, the board set up a summit in January for all leadership, so that's PTSO and ECE leadership, to meet. And the PTSOs came to that meeting with a well-planned and thorough solution, and that has now the foundation of a national coaching and athlete development program called the Canadian Equestrian Development. So it was a very positive year from that perspective. So after the first 6 months of stabilization were complete and our new CEO was in office, the board was able to return to its governance role, which is to steer the organization responsibly forward towards a strong and healthy future, and at the same time ensuring a solid focus on our mission, strategies, and goals. This led us to begin our strategic initiatives exercise, which has been done by boards in the past, and the purpose is to really identify the strategic direction we see the organization taking in the next 5 years. So the questions we asked were, where will we be in 5 years? What will the organization and the equestrian landscape in Canada look like? And what will we have achieved? So we received input from stakeholders, and input is still coming in. You can rest assured that these initiatives make up a living document, and they will need to constantly evolve and grow as we make victories or find limitations over time. But the key to the exercise is that we come out of it all moving forward in a common, mutually beneficial, and mutually supported direction. From that goal point, how we get there is what the strategic initiatives will help outline. And from the strategic initiatives, staff, committees, and partners will all be able to create actual operational tasks to start moving in that direction. So I'll do a brief overview of the document that was circulated to you. As mentioned earlier, this is a living document. It's designed to steer us forward on a path to achieve goals and keep us from running astray. It starts in 2018 and it ends in 22, so it's a 5-year document. And again, it's clear that the needs of our organization will change year over year, so this document will be reviewed and revised on an annual basis. Strategic initiatives are something that we can also use as KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators for the organization. If you're familiar with KPIs, they're often used in a workplace environment, and employees are given them to outline expectations for performance, identify tools needed to achieve goals, and provide a metric to compare actual results. So in that same light, the STRAT initiatives will become the KPI for ECE. And as we move forward towards the goals we've identified for the next 5 years, both we and the community can continue to check the results that we're producing against the STRAT initiatives to see in greater progress and performance in the different areas. So in the document that was circulated to you, just a brief point, the vision and the mission is outlined. It has not changed from the past. The summary of the key initiatives are on page 5, and then the goals are on page 7. So the goals are, who are we and where are we going to be in 5 years? And those goals are summarized by 2022, it's our goal to be a leader in equestrian and organizational excellence. This will be achieved through a firm focus on the development of equestrians, equines, and competitions. It will result in strong participation in a healthy industry, and it will mean that equestrian activities and industry in Canada are governed by a reputable organization with best practices in governance and financial responsibility. So to go into a little bit of detail on that, for us, leading with equestrian excellence means a lot. It means for equestrians, including coaches, grassroots, and high-performance athletes, it's setting a target of a 5% increase in sport license numbers over the next 5 years. And this may seem like a significant increase, but it is necessary for us to focus on how we can break the trend of decline and achieve participation growth. For equines, it means excellence in the oversight of their health and welfare, breeding, and our National Traceability ID program. For competitions, through a thorough competition review, which has, as I mentioned, already begun, to promote growth and participation across all levels of competition, increasing development of and opportunity for officials, and the deployment of a national membership portal and a national rankings tabulation program. And it also means for participation, fostering growth and access to the sport through recreation, grassroots, alliances with our PTSOs and other industry partners, building a strong media visibility plan to boost our connection to youth and other potential participants, and supporting tools and resources to drive opportunity for those building a livelihood as athletes, coaches, owners, professionals, vets, business owners, producers, and breeders in this industry. And finally, leading with organizational excellence means to us that we've earned the respect of our community in the pursuit of strong governance and financial procedures, ensuring transparent and open communication, regular reporting, annual operational reviews, diversification and expansion of revenue generation and partnerships, and very importantly, how we can better service our community and sport license holders. So this is an exciting and very ambitious document, and we look forward to working towards these goals and hearing your continued input and seeing an equestrian economy in the coming years that will continue to foster growth and improvement. So just to wrap up, this past year can be summarized in the board's creating operational stability and then the creation of our 5-year growth plan. So what are we going to look like in 2022? So what comes next? The next major topic that will be on the board table is, do we have the tools to get us there? Are we really set up for success? In particular, our governance model is complex. I know some of the voting members and discipline committees have voiced questions about this. So just a reminder again, for those, please put your phone on mute. Okay, everyone just please hold. We're going to mute the line. So just to explain to everybody, it just means that you won't hear the background noise until I wrap up and Richard wraps up his management report, and then we'll move on with the conversation. We'll unmute. So to continue where I was, the analysis of whether we're set up with the best governance and operational structures to achieve the ambitious goals that we've set will be brought to the board table at the first meeting of the 2018-2019 board year in October. It will likely take time for the board to conduct a thorough review. However, we're committed to the work we've done to date and the goals we've set, so it's a logical next step to assess whether we're best equipped to achieve our goals. So my last comment before handing this to Richard for his management report is that I'd like to thank the many people on this call and those listening for the hours they've given to the organization and to the industry, whether you're staff, volunteer, or participant, and whether you're contributing your time to ECE, PTSOs, or strategic alliances. I can certainly say that after 1 year in this role, which is a volunteer role, I have a different appreciation for governance and for what it takes to believe in something that is so large and that has so many moving parts and people in the pursuit of creating something better for the organization and a stronger industry in our country. So thank you very much. Richard, I'd like to pass it to Richard Mongeau to provide his management report.
Thank you, Meg. The first 5 months since I've joined Equestrian Canada have been an accelerated onboarding session that has permitted me to become acquainted with different facets of the organization and many of the stakeholders. This time is permitted to evaluate certain aspects of the organization, pursue different actions that were initiated by the previous administration, as well as launch some new initiatives. So in my report, I intend to provide members with a very brief overview of certain initiatives and projects that are in preparation or in progress. The first one I'd like to comment on is the Canadian Equestrian Development. Now, as mentioned earlier, this initiative is really a combination of efforts between PTSOs and Equestrian Canada. The Memorandum of Agreement signed between EC and all provincial territorial sport organizations in the spring of this year included a plan for the Canadian Equestrian Development, the CED, which is the result of an unprecedented approach to align PTSO and EC priorities in the areas of development and growth of equestrian. Now, the past 3 months have enabled to put into place the structure and organization that is required to move forward with the plan. More specifically, with the participation of PTSOs, a request for proposal process gave way to in-person interviews, and finally, the choice of a project manager that will be tasked to manage 2 of the major projects of the Canadian Equestrian Development Plan, namely the review of the English and Western Learn to Ride programs and the review the equestrian-specific training and evaluation portions of the coaching certification program. There are other elements of this plan which include the development of a fundamentals program named Rookie Riders, the mandatory coaching requirements at EC sanctioned competitions, and developing a framework to welcome active, high-performance level coaches within the certification program. Completion of the projects which are identified in the CED are set or scheduled for April 2020. Secondly, concerning the registration portal, there's clearly been a need to develop efficient tools ensuring a user-friendly interface to facilitate membership-related transactions, and that has been identified for some time. In addition, Equestrian Canada clearly needs to increase its data management capacity in different areas such as coaches, officials, competitions, and equine identification. Again, following a request for proposal developed by the Business Development Committee, the screening process led to interviewing the top-ranked vendors during this past summer. The choice of the developer vendor was ratified by the Board of Directors in August, and the first phase of the project includes several aspects, one being membership management. This piece is currently in preparation. Other elements of the initial phase include coach, official, and horse management, and as mentioned earlier in our President's report, competition result display and ranking elements are also part of this first phase of the project. Another initiative that has been started is a fee revision process. So a segment of the EC fee schedule concerning sport license-related transactions is currently being examined. Standardization of fees across disciplines and simplification of the transaction process are the main elements under review at this time. Now, pending discipline committee feedback, discussions which are currently taking place and will continue for the next 10 days, certain modifications will be presented to the Board of Directors for their consideration this fall. Now, should any changes come into play for 2019, sport license holders and other stakeholders will be informed in due time. Another aspect is the actual financial reporting. After careful consideration, as mentioned earlier, Equestrian Canada has made an important decision resulting in a change of internal accounting software. Now that this has been accomplished, a review of the budgeting and reporting practices will be underway over the next quarter. The main objective of this review is to improve and facilitate the financial monitoring of EC's financial reports and statements by the different stakeholders while answering the needs of the Board of Directors, members, discipline committees, and senior management. An important piece which was started several weeks ago is an organizational review, which is currently underway, through which we wish to determine how to best structure our workforce in order to foster teamwork, create efficiencies, and collectively have success in the development of equestrian activity from pony to podium. There's been some interesting work that's been conducted over the past years, whether it be through third-party high-performance reviews, discipline competition system and long-term athlete development reviews, an internal staff retreat, and surveys. The results of this previous work, coupled with a fresh perspective, will contribute in determining how we can best structure and organize our team to lead and impact growth in equestrian sport. In addition, in meeting with government officials and funding partners, these recent discussions with these partners bring an important perspective to the evaluation of our current situation and especially in the determination of our future needs. The Equestrian Canada Human Resource Committee and the Board of Directors will be considering recommendations from management concerning this important file during the next quarter. The last element I'd like to share with you is concerning the conduct of an economic impact study. This is the first of a suite of projects for which Equestrian Canada will be applying for federal funding. In addition to its primary role as a national sport organization, Equestrian Canada wishes to maintain and grow its privileged relationship with the Federal Department of Agriculture, known as Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. A funding application has been developed and filed through the National Agri-Assurance funding stream of this program for a project which is named Canadian Equine Sector Assessment and Quality Assurance Development. This will be phase one of what is anticipated to be a two-phase project. The project is being proposed in 2 phases, which will enable preemptive work which is necessary to ensure the success and implementation of the project as a whole. During year 1 of the project, the development of the second phase work plan and funding application will be prepared and filed. Now, the intended deliverables of the overall project will include, as I mentioned earlier, the equine sector economic impact study, the second portion, which is an on-farm animal care assessment certification program, and, as Meg mentioned in her report, equine ID and traceability system. The overall project will run over consecutive years of the funding program. Multiple letters of support have been received from PTSOs, the Horse Squirrel Fair Alliance Canada Group, and national farm organizations, including the National Farm Animal Care Council, Canadian Federation of Agriculture, and other parties. The application and necessary supporting documentation were completed, which led to the filing of the submission to the Ministry of Agriculture earlier this month. I would like to end my report by sharing with you that over this short and fast-paced period of these past 5 months, I've discovered a board of directors that are fully devoted to the advancement of the organization, numerous volunteers that want to see their national federation and their sport succeed, as well as competent and engaged personnel. I wish to sincerely thank all these groups for their support during these first months in office.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, we're going to unmute the line. And at the conclusion of those reports, we're going to move to the next item, which is a report of the audit
Come back
committee.
on Friday night. You have to do your other job here. I'm sorry.
Peggy? Oh, is that Liz? Peggy, could you please mute your line?
If you do
Oh, I
have,
thought it was.
okay, if you have background noise, dogs barking, or you're just press *6 to mute your individual line, and then *6 to unmute it. Thank you.
Okay. Sounds like we're back on track. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the report of the audit committee. So I'm going to introduce Rob Mitchell. Rob is the chair of the Finance and Audit Committee of the board. He stepped in the month of August to take the position of chair, but has been a member of the Finance Committee for the entire 2017-2018 board year. So Rob, I'll turn it over to you to run through the report.
Okay, thanks very much, Meg, and good afternoon or good evening to all. So as Meg said, I'm just been chair of this committee since August. Up to then, it was Rupert May, and I just wanted to acknowledge the great job done by Rupert as chair of the Finance and Audit Committee through most of this year. He was definitely a leader for our group and for the organization as a whole. And he wrote the final report, which you all have a copy of. And we'll certainly miss his expertise for the organization. To thank Robert Westgarth and his staff for the many hours of dedicated work. First, to get us caught up on financial reporting, as well as the task of converting the accounting system during the year. The move from NAV to QuickBooks was a very big task for the staff, but I think it has 2 major benefits for us. First, it lowers our monthly costs, and also it simplifies our procedures. with this tool, though I think, I do think there is room to continually improve our financial reporting to all stakeholders, and QuickBooks should enable us to accomplish that, one of our goals for the next year. Rupert's report does provide some analysis of the results for the year, and you do have the audited financial statements. Just a brief overview of the results. We ended the fiscal year, March 31st, 2018, with a surplus for the year. This was a significant improvement over the previous year, and also substantially better than was budgeted. I think that is quite an accomplishment in a year of significant turmoil, and where we continued to see a decline in revenue. The surplus reported $13,900 is there despite the write-down of the NAV cost, which was about $128,000, which has been explained as a non-cash expense. So operationally, the surplus, we look at it as being $142,000 for the year. Restricted funds were in the surplus during the year, in surplus to the tune of about $175,000. And the unrestricted funds were in deficit by $161,000. So the NAV write-down is part of the unrestricted funds expense. And so backing that out, the deficit for the unrestricted funds would have been $34,000, which approximates the unrestricted loss from the previous year. Although this result is better than what was budgeted for, we are of course concerned about declining participation, declining revenue, and our need over the long term to match revenue and expenses, particularly on the unrestricted side. We want to do that on a year-to-year basis. So with our new CEO and more experienced leadership in place, I believe we're on a path to build a stronger organization for the future. And certainly, as Meg has said in her report, strengthening and diversifying our revenue sources are key priorities in that regard. So the financial statements have been audited by KPMG. KPMG has provided a clean audit report. The auditors advised us that they had full cooperation of the EC staff, and the auditors have not raised any issues around financial controls with us. So on behalf of the Finance and Audit Committee and the EC Board, I submit the audited financial statements to you for your acceptance, and then ask for approval for the reappointment of KPMG as our auditors.
Thank you very much,
Can
Rob.
I ask a question, please? It's Terrence Miller.
Certainly.
Looking at the discipline by discipline, I don't see a report on reining in the budget.
Are you looking at?
On the next page,
It's on page 4 at the very top.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rob. Are there any other questions? Okay, I would like to introduce the auditor, Kirsten Giles, from KPMG, to provide a report of the audit process.
Thanks, Meg. Good evening, everyone, or afternoon, as the case may be. So essentially, I could just concur with Rupert's very detailed analysis of how the audit has gone. We certainly have seen, I would say, substantial improvements of the readiness of management over the last year, so that certainly speaks to I think Rob being able to be in the role for a full year versus maybe just a few weeks as was the case in 2017. And so for us, the audit was able to be completed sooner, and Rob was actually instrumental in bringing that forward for us for about a month, I think, ahead of last year, 2017. So we certainly appreciate the efforts done by both Rob and his finance staff, as well as the board and the audit and finance committee. We were certainly able to reap the benefits of that in our audit work. So as we said, we are issuing a clean audit opinion, and we have no recommendations at this time for any changes to financial processes.
Okay, thank you very much. So for the voting members, you've now received the 2018 approved audited financial statements. You've received the auditor's report and the report from the chair of the Audit and Finance Committee. So I know there were a few questions from the categories regarding finances, but what I'd like to ask for first, if there's a motion to accept the 2017-2018 audited financial statements, so we can get that on the table.
This is Jerry Sweet. I would so move.
Thank you.
Again, second.
Gilles, thank you very much. So there were questions from category A with regards to sport license fees, affiliation fees, show fees, including levy, drug fees, and fees paid by show committees. So the question relating to that was, what is the proportion of EC revenues attributable to category A? The answer to that question is as follows. There are three parts. 100% of all affiliate fees and discipline levies are registered as discipline-specific revenue, so that would be revenue exclusively available for category A. Second point, sport license revenue and competition fee revenue is registered as general revenue. This revenue covers most expenditures such as rent, phone, mailing, salaries, as well as benefits, legal fees, governance-related expenditures. And the third part of that question was equine medication revenue is managed separately and set aside to manage the equine med controls. And I think that was the only financial question that was brought forth. So are there any other questions or discussion that we would like to make about accepting the approved audited financial statements? Okay. So the motion that was moved by Jerry and seconded by Gilles to accept the 2017-2018 audited financials. We will do this vote by roll call. So we'll start with category A. Peter Gray is not here. Sue Carroll?
Yes, so accepted.
Thank you. Charlene Kostecki? She's not here. Mike Lawrence?
In favor.
Thank you. Terry O'Brennan?
Yes.
Rhea Pohl is not here. Elizabeth Quake?
Yes.
Cara Whittam?
Kara approved for me, and this is Sue Carroll, and I'm approving for me.
Okay. Terrence Miller?
Accepted.
Accepted. Moving to category B, Jess Anstey?
Accepted.
Nicole Duplessis?
Accepted.
Heather Finlay?
Accepted.
Brenda Gilchrist?
Accepted.
Mark Nelson?
In favor.
Laura Parker?
In favor.
Liz Saunders?
In favor.
Adrian Smith? Jerry Sweet?
So approved.
Thank you. And category C, Jill Barton?
Approved.
Charmaine Bergman?
Yes.
David Brent?
Approved.
Muriel Burnley?
Approved.
Tina Collins?
Approved.
Dan Gall?
Approve.
Caitlin Bergerick? Was not on. Sue Ockenden?
Accepted.
And Gilles Sigran.
Agreed.
Thank you. Okay, so that has passed. Thank you very much. So to the second point, the appointment of the auditor. Rob Mitchell had, on behalf of the Finance Committee, had made a recommendation to again appoint KPMG. Was there any voting member who would like to make a motion?
I can make that motion, Mike Wong.
Thanks, Mike. And seconded?
Muriel Barnwood.
Thanks, Muriel. Any other comment or discussion on that? Okay, so for this, we'll do an any opposed. Any opposed to the appointment of KPMG as the auditor for the 2018-2019 year? Okay, that is passed. Thank you very much. Moving swiftly along to our question session. This session of...
Hey, Meg?
Yes.
Hey, Meg, this is Wayne Dunwash. Do we need to have a motion to accept the audit committee report, your report, and management report?
No. They were just updates, so the important piece was the approval or the acceptance of the financial statement and the appointment of the auditor.
Okay, thank you.
So in the question session, this session is designed to discuss governance-related questions from the categories and from the categories receiving questions from the general community and sport license holders. We did receive questions. We had 5 from A, 4 from B, and 1 from C. So what I'll do is I will read through them and do the answers. I already addressed 1 from category A, so that would bring that down to 4. The first question from category A was, should voting not be more in proportion to the membership contribution? The answer to that, this is a very valid question. As I mentioned in my opening comments, we will be bringing the topic of a governance structure review to the board at the October board meeting. The second question was the question that I read earlier relating to sport license fees, etc., which was answered. The third question, based on A, voting members consisting of 9 EC Sport Discipline Committee members who are elected by EC Sport license holders to represent the interests of the Canadian equestrian sport community at the EC governance level. As a sport license holder, I do not recall voting for a number of years, if ever, for a voting member. Has there been a vote by sport license holders with respect to the above policy? This differs from the website, which says they are designated or elected by the discipline committees. This was referring to the press release that went out announcing the questions for governance. The answer to that was that we apologize that we published incorrect information with respect to how Category A members are elected. It should be noted that individual sport license holders do not vote for the election of category members. In the case of Category A, the TOR states that each of the 8 sport discipline committees designates a person to represent equestrian sport as an A member. The equestrian sport discipline representing the largest number of sport license holders may put forward a second person for a total of 9 Category A members. The next question comes from the jumping committee, and it states a statement that they would like to put forth during the AGM. We feel strongly that the present system of having only 27 voting members determining the makeup of the EC board is not representational of the EC membership. We were told at the EC convention in Vancouver by the EC lawyer Gordon Peterson that there are many other governance models that could be used which would give our paying stakeholders a voice in their future. We would strongly support researching this and would support returning to a representation by population structure. The reply would be, again, as noted in the first question, we will be bringing this topic of a governance structure assessment and review to the board at the October board meeting. The last question from Category A was in reference to the resignation of Rupert May on August 17th, 2018. The question was why the next 2 eligible candidates were not automatically taken to replace the open position. One was elected as an EC director. The answer to that was that the open seat left by Rupert's resignation was not part of the election last year. Our bylaws state that in filling a director vacancy, the remaining directors on the board may appoint a qualified individual to fill the vacancy until the next election of directors, when the members shall fill the vacancy for the balance of the term that the directors whose position was vacated. At the time of Rupert's resignation, the board determined it would be wiser to wait and fill the position when the new 2018-2019 board sat. It would enable us to get a better understanding of the dynamic of the board and evaluate which skill sets may be missing or may be beneficial to meet the needs of the board. So when the new board sits in October of 2018, they'll discuss and determine the individual that they feel would best fit the needs of the board. Moving on to questions from category B, there were 4. The first question was, to whom was the original EC communication sent? And that would refer to the communication regarding the questions for the categories to go to the general community. The answer is that the original communication was sent via our email list to 16,994 email addresses, and that included sport license holders, PTSOs, affiliates, and voting members. Second question, when someone emails category B at equestrian.ca, who receives the email? Is it the chair or all of the category members? So the answer is that all category B members receive messages sent to category B. It would be the same for category A and C. Third question, are there too many email blast communications going out? Answer, some individuals find that they do receive many email communications on behalf of VC. The team is looking into introducing new ways to determine who receives which information, as well as what type of information should be made available for members to obtain through different channels of information. So it isn't all going through one same source. And the final question, which I apologize is a finance question. Category B suggests that the Finance Committee report should have an addendum which provides information on the major types of revenue and expenditures within each category. So that would be, for example, business, governance, operations, high performance, and technical. This would provide future voting members from all categories an insight into the exact business of each category. The answer from that is we're starting a review of how financial statements and reports need to be presented in order to present the best financial scenario by category of activity. So that suggestion is well received and will be considered during that review. Category C. The question is regarding the Category C terms of reference, what are they and where they are located. EC is supposed to be updating the TOR for Category C, but this individual cannot find any updates. We should be consulted on changes, but I also cannot find where this happened. All category terms of reference, particularly C, which was approved on September 11th, 2017, is available on the governance manual on the ECE website. So you would go to equestrian.ca, the drop down on About EC, select governance, and when you scroll to the bottom, you can read our bylaws, you can read the governance manual, all of the governance related documents are posted there. The terms of reference would not be changed without consultation from the voting members. And what we can do in follow-up is email everybody this week the terms of reference to ensure they have the version that they need. So those were the questions that were received. We did receive a message from Terry O'Brennan, who emailed saying that she has a question about the board report. So Terry, would you like to ask that question?
Very simply, I just saw in the board report a reference to, I think, business and development talking about brand within a brand, and I'm interested in that subject, and I can't see any other information in it anywhere in the board report. It's really not a governance thing, it's just a question about the board report.
Absolutely. Richard Mongeau he did a lot of work on this, and he will take a minute to answer your question.
Good evening, Terry.
Hi, Richard.
The brand within the brand, in fact, was a small challenge of finding the best way in order to identify disciplines along with the Equestrian Canada emblem. And in fact, there were different asks from different disciplines, and this was finalized just a couple of weeks ago, where through a very simple example, or very simple solution, I would say, of associating the EC emblem with each of the disciplines. Therefore, in your disciplinary, which is endurance, we will be sending out to all disciplines and to yours as well, a example of how we can identify EC and each of the discipline committees by simply using the name of the discipline. For example, if you can visualize the EC emblem and alongside simply the term endurance would be indicated, is the new way that we will be suggesting and encouraging disciplines to identify themselves in their communications. Now this applies to all 8 disciplines, that all the 8 FEI disciplines that are under the auspices of Equestrian Canada. Does that answer your question, Terry?
It does. Thank you, Richard. I'm looking forward to seeing that when it comes out.
Super. Are there any other questions brought from the floor?
Yes, this is Carl Witten. It's just a point of interest, Meg. I know that the AGM itself was announced in general to the membership, through press releases, but my question was the financial information and the agenda that we have received, those of us that are on the call, was it sent out to the membership?
You mean the sport license, the community, the participants?
Yeah.
The agenda was not sent out to the community, it was sent to the members. And the,
It's published on the website.
my apologies, it is published on the website. So it is available to the community, yes.
And the financial and the audited statements also?
They are not.
Once they're approved.
Yes,
Any particular reason that they were not?
They were not yet accepted, so now that they are accepted, they will be available for the community, as well as any other documentation, the report, etc. We'll make sure that that information is out and available for review, for comment, for question, etc.
And how will it be dispersed?
It will be posted on the website, and I think from...
we'll send out a communication and wrap up.
Sorry, Jessie's just updating. She said they will send out a communication that will summarize the AGM, what took place, and then that information will also be available by that same email blast.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? Okay.
No.
Nope.
Meg?
Yes.
It's Sarah again. I'm not belaboring any points, and perhaps when this meeting is over, Richard will share with you an email that I sent to him just before the AGM with respect to a possible solution to the membership in general, to allow them to have more of a so-called voice or say in the sport that they are supporting and involved with. But I don't want to go in it on here. I think it's best that Richard shares it with you, and I would be interested if you could take it to the board for consideration.
Okay, we can definitely do that. Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to move to one of the last parts of the meeting today. This is the introduction of our new incoming directors. Before we do that, I'm going to ask Dominique Chagnon, Chair of the Nominations Committee, if she would like to share any insider updates from the election process this year.
I think that you all received the report from the nomination committee. I don't know if you want me to go over the report again, or if you would prefer to ask questions. Is there any preference? there were, as everyone knows, there were 4 positions that were going to election. We received 13 candidates, and the nomination committee choose to present 7 candidates to the members, and the voting went on at the beginning of August, and after the election we had a tie, so we had to do a second turn, which resolved with the election of the 4 candidates that were presented earlier. It was a very good process. It's been going well. It was the first time that we had to face the tie, so it was quite interesting that way. But finally, all went well. So for me, everything was positive again this year. There's been some notes in my final report, some improvement that can be made for 2019. That's pretty much it. So, is there any questions?
Okay, thank you very much, Dominique. So now I'd like to introduce each, and I'm going to ask them to each give a 30-second introduction for themselves. So first we'll start with Dr. Wayne Burwash.
Oh, I got to break the ice here,
Yes,
right?
you do.
Okay, let's see. I'm a retired equine veterinarian. I graduated 49 years ago, so I sold my practice 5 years ago, but
Have you left the conference?
oh, sorry. Up till that point, I owned and operated Burwash Equine, which is now a 7 veterinary practice exclusively doing horses. It's a full-service practice that has full surgical facility, and so services almost all classes of horses, right from the backyard pony to some Olympic horses and world champion quarter horses. So that's my professional life. Hand in hand with that, I've been raising and showing quarter horses for almost 50 years. I've raised many provincial and national champions. My best effort was the reserve world champion. Anyhow, that's been a large focus of my life other than professionally. I'm currently the president of the Canadian Quarter Horse Association and the director of the Alberta Quarter Horse Association and the American Quarter Horse Association. So, I don't know, I guess that's about all I need to say. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Wayne. Craig Collins. Craig, are you still there? Okay, we'll come back to Craig. Let's move to Jane Milton.
Okay, well, I am a 60-year-old, I wish I was 40. Soon to be retired lawyer. Partner with Norton Rose Fulbright. And I'm going into my last year of part-time work, so hopefully that will end soon. I am on the board of the Southland Riding Club, that ends in January. I have 2 horses of my own. I came back to the sport approximately 5 years ago, when I was looking to get back into it for retirement purposes. And since then, for my sins, I have acquired 2 horses, not 1 but 2, for I'm a fool, but there you go. And I have a 17-year-old Hanoverian, and a 7-year-old Dutch Warm Black that I just last year.
Somebody
So,
is,
that's really it for me. Just sitting here.
thank you. Peggy, is that you again? Somebody is not on mute. Thank you. Jane, thank you very much. Next, Robin Tremblay.
Sure, thank you. So, my name
Mary Louise has left the conference.
My name is Robin Tremblay. I'm based now in Guelph, Ontario, after having spent several years living and riding in Calgary. I've ridden my entire life at sort of a recreational level, most recently in dressage. Professionally, I have a firm called Relate Social Capital, which focuses exclusively on sports fundraising and alumni engagement. So over the last 3 years, I've worked with several of our country's national sport federations on assessing, building, and supporting diversified revenue streams. So that's specifically in philanthropy, not as much in sponsorship, but of course that usually creeps in, and alumni engagement. So I've long wanted the opportunity to apply my very niche set of skills to my sport of choice, and as such I am thrilled to be joining the board and am looking forward to doing what I can to help in an area that is often a challenge for our federation. So looking forward to working with everybody.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Okay, we have also Craig, who is ready as well.
Thanks, Meg. One thing I suspect I haven't learned is being on board for years how to unmute my phone. Nonetheless, I'm thrilled to be back on the board. I thoroughly enjoyed our first year. We had multiple challenges, and I think as a group, this board did a wonderful job of digging our organization forward, and I'm excited to continue on with that plan. For those that don't know me, I'm a competition organizer. I have the Caledon Equestrian Park and experience of over 30 years of managing events, and I'm a member of Gym Canada, founding member of Gym Canada, and enjoyed my volunteer services very much, and I look forward to it. Thank you.
Super, thank you. The board is very excited to work with all of the new directors, and we'll be meeting with them in a few weeks. I would like to thank our one departing director, Peggy Handley, past president. Her term will be ending in a few minutes. Peggy, thank you very much for your dedication to the equestrian industry and sport in Canada for so many years. We really hope you'll enjoy a bit of a break and hope to see you stay involved in many other ways. So the last part of the meeting happens quite quickly. It's the adjournment section. I'd like to thank everyone again for your time today. I think we've had a very constructive AGM. Please feel free to keep in touch at any time. If you have any comments for me, my email is president@equestrian.ca. It's always welcome. And at this point, with nothing further to discuss, I wish you all a wonderful rest of your week and hereby adjourn the 2017-2018 annual general